Hi everybody, hope you're all doing well today. It's time for a Cryptoconsh cheeky Cosmos recap, isn't it, for 2022? Regardless of the macroeconomic environment, look at our beautiful Cosmos and all of its interconnectivity via the IBC. Tech is tech, and that's why I'm not bloody going anywhere. So what are we looking at then? Firstly, I'm going to give you a quick recap of the drama that ensued in 2022. Then we're going to look at where we are in the world and what's the bloody future for the Cosmos moving forward. Alright, so let's get into it. Does anyone remember these days at the start of last year? Look at that. Look at that beautiful all-time high. Those were the days, weren't they? Look at this as well. $1 billion locked in osmosis. A $10 valuation per token. And the growth of subscribers on the Cosmos network was absolutely bloody fantastic, wasn't it? We can see that with all the turmoil in this tumultuous world, we've had a 5 to 8% growth since we first saw this graph. Then before we knew it, that beautiful house of cards came crashing down, didn't it? Not just the Cosmos, mind you. Firstly, one of the three horsemen of the Cosmos, Juno, a smart contract platform that's able to ease the IBC burden. So for this Juno whale drama, the person in question, the whale in question, was known as Takumi Asano, a 24-year-old Japanese gentleman, old to be 24 again, and rich. He was accused of gaming the Juno airdrop system as he took others' funds, held those funds in what essentially was an exchange, did not give these token holders the rewards and kept them all for himself, leading to him having ownership of a massive amount of funds, which the Core 1 team and many others declared to be completely against the core tenets of the airdrop. He gamed the airdrop. While some might say that's fair play, others completely disagreed. This led to a vote where 72% of people voted to revoke all but 50,000 of his received tokens. Now, if you think about this really, this left the community absolutely divided. By an on-chain governance vote, people were able to go into somebody's wallet of that token and take that money out. Now, many people, including myself, are very concerned about in the future how that could potentially compromise many other people's accounts. If there's an on-chain vote to extract your money, and let's say there's only 3 or 4 validators that are essentially in control of that vote, as it's not completely decentralized yet, although that is being changed, yeah, that is a concern. And I can understand why the community was divided. Some say it was fair game. He gamed the system. People game the system all the time, from all walks of life, in completely different businesses. But ultimately, his funds have been taken away. While many feel this was the right course of action, some are also incredibly concerned, as they should be. I believe this lack of trust at the top, and this whole drama where people were getting heated at all sides, at the top of the chain, even the Core 1 team, led ultimately to distrust, divestment. After this event, we can see a consistent decline in the value of Juno, with a few little bumps here and there, but the value has dropped significantly over 90%. Now, not everything is about value of the asset. The reality is, what kind of use case does it have? And in honesty, smart contracts are in infancy, but they have an incredibly important use case, particularly on the Cosmos, with IBC, with the interconnected blockchain. And smart contracts certainly have a wonderful use case. I'm sure we understand that price isn't everything, right? A lot of people are in this market because they want to invest in technology they think is superior, and they have core values of decentralization, freedom of expression in code, and the ability to let anyone produce anything they want that aids humanity in some way. And if that means a new, more efficient financial system, then why not? In my opinion, the core tenets of Juno are really good. The idea that it's a smart contract platform, it assists with the processing of transactions on the Cosmos, leading to greater speeds. And as the smart contract technology grows, they're going to be able to utilize the IBC network on the Cosmos, where a contract is going to be able to borrow and lend from multiple mediums and platforms at the same time, and take oracles or information from real life at the same time to make decisions on what the next step is based on the smart contract. Conceptually, it is brilliant in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that there isn't new competition. There's a lot of new platforms coming on the Cosmos that are integrating smart contracts and experimenting with smart contracts. And that's what we want to see, really, experimentation and growth. It's in infancy. So yeah, this was a massive shock to the system. Then a few months after this, boom, Terra crash. And my gosh, this was one for the ages, as particularly as this token is on the Cosmos. With Terra UST, you were able to stake your UST for 20% rewards a year. A lot of people were calling this out, saying it's unrealistic. How on earth can you give $100 and get $120 back? What investments are they doing with that money in order to guarantee themselves a return on their investments of above 20% in order to pay the consumers? There was a large argument that it was a huge Ponzi scheme. Unfortunately for myself, I went with USDC over Terra. Having a degree in finance, I felt a lot more safe with having USDC backed up. I know it's centralized, but centralized entities are there for a reason, and of course they want a piece of the crypto pie. Until the technology of stablecoins is better, that's where my money will stay, as it's backed up on a 1-to-1 ratio. Now I did make a long video about what happened with Terra. What we did see was an exchange of about 70% in 3 days. Now, Terra's problem was, with the money they received, they bought Bitcoin as a backup. Unfortunately, Bitcoin began quite a steep and steady decline during that time period, And actually what Terra did is what banks do. In fact, I would argue they backed up more. Banks have a 10% BIS ratio, or essentially if you give a bank $100, they are allowed to loan out around $90 to person 2. So banks only keep 10%, but they have better methodologies of stopping you from withdrawing your funds. With Terra, their investment, even though Bitcoin lost its value, from what I researched then, their backup funds for their UST stablecoin were actually a higher percentage than what a bank carries. However, due to them buying so much Bitcoin and the value of Bitcoin dropping, and then having 70% withdrawals within 3 days, that was way more severe than your average bank run. And very few systems, if any, can handle that. If this happens to a bank, do you know what happens? The central bank comes in and says, "Don't worry, mate, we'll sort you out." And they just give the bank a loan. People withdraw their funds from that bank and then go to a different bank. But this is the crypto space. And sadly, Terra crashed, bringing confidence in crypto down and confidence in the entire ecosystem down. Just look at this poor soul's post. This was at the start of the year, $16,000 in the Lunar Osmo pool. Then, boom, $109 after the crash. I feel so sorry for this investor, and I hope it wasn't a large portion of his investment funds. A lot of people were hit hard, and understandably this will damage trust in crypto in general, not just the Cosmos ecosystem. And finally, what we're seeing now globally is a bit of an economic decline. I know this graph may be a bit confusing for some, but let me try to explain it and explain what's happening right now in the world. Basically, this line is total demand for goods and services in the country. That means people like me and you going in the shop and buying a Freddo and a newspaper, or businesses taking loans out and investing. So what happened during COVID is the government pumped loads of money into the economy, right? So this AD line, aggregate demand or total demand for goods and services, moved forward. And when this line moves forward, what happens is we see an increase in production. As more people have more jobs and they're spending more money, it stimulates growth and whatnot. Now, what also happens with that though, if this line moved forward, we would be at this point. So at the moment, because the government pumped extra money in, there's more money in the total system chasing the same or a little bit more number of goods. Therefore, prices are going to go up as more people are competing to buy the same goods. Now, what the government's doing at the minute is pulling this AD line back here. And when they pull this AD line back, it just means that they're not giving you the COVID funds anymore, increasing interest rates. So if interest rates go up, you're paying more for your mortgage every month, so you have less in your pocket to spend at the end of the month. Businesses don't take out loans anymore, it's too expensive. People that have buy-to-let properties are not getting the profit they used to get. People are losing money with interest rates going up, and people prefer to put their money in the bank because they get a higher return from their money. So it stops spending. So this AD line goes back, right? If this AD line goes back, we end up around here. We have less GDP, less production, less employment. But what makes this worse is this line here, the SRAS, the aggregate supply, this is the supply of goods and services. This has also gone back simply because there's a war. There's going to be less production of goods and services, which means prices are going to go up. So not only do we have interest rates going up, we have prices going up as well. So we have people buying less things, businesses investing less, government spending less, right? So we've got businesses making less profit. Not only that, the cost of doing business is going to be expensive as all these resources go up because they're not being produced in Ukraine. There's a war. Russia's monopolizing oil. Prices are going up. So what we're going to see is something called stagflation, which is even worse, where we're not producing any more GDP. We're not producing any more things, right? In fact, we might be producing less things due to the lack of spending, but also prices of general things are going up. So people are having less money and prices are higher. So what does that mean for their investments? A lot of the times people divest. They have to sell their assets, they sell their stocks, they sell their extra property in order to get by until we get out of this recession. And it's a very hard thing to get out of with the war at the moment. But fingers crossed the war will stop at some point and production will start again. But from what I see, guys, the next few years are definitely for penny pinching. So at the moment, what we can see is confidence is lost in stocks. As we saw, people are divesting. It's lost in crypto and people are penny pinching right now. But to be honest, this is standard fare for the economic cycles where we have recessions, recovery, growth and booms, recessions, recovery, growth and booms. Now, what does this mean for the future of the crypto and future of Cosmos? Well, during this period, developers gone develop, aren't they? What we see during these time periods is a massive increase in people knuckling down and developing the tech behind their products. What kind of tech is that? Well, firstly, this is related to Atom 2.0 for the Cosmos Hub, not the entire Cosmos ecosystem, just the Cosmos Hub that represents Atom Token. They wanted to introduce 4 new pieces of tech pretty much all at once and increase the community pool. This got voted down. There was a lot of controversy there. I explained this in another video. But the reason why it was voted down is too much too soon. It's not because of lack of confidence in the product itself. All of the suggestions made in this paper were really good, but the general consensus was they need to discuss better methodologies and push these methodologies out slowly, which I fully agree with. So while many people saw this as a negative, saw this as division in the community, it ultimately resulted in more concise, stable movements in the community. So now we can see actually that when Proposal 88 came out, after the initial one was voted down, it simply had a different method to increase community tax to create a community pool. A simple, clean vote that allows for a generation of a community pool where funding can be allocated to different resources. So whereas many people saw this as a negative, I saw this as actually a good positive, where community involvement has increased substantially in the cosmos. And for me, if the community is involved, this is never a negative, regardless of what side they stand on. So that's what I firstly see for 2023. Much more engagement and community involvement. Secondly, we're seeing better staking methodologies. Before, if you put your tokens in a liquidity pool, that's it, they stayed there, they weren't doing anything. Now, not only can you put them in a liquidity pool, you can stake the tokens you get from that liquidity pool in other platforms. Atom 2.0 is looking at interchain security, which is really cool. So Atom has a large value base with a market cap of 2.7 billion. Now, if a new entity wants to come on the Cosmos, right? What do they have already? They have an instant connection to all of the chains on the Cosmos with the IBC. Brilliant. So they can communicate with each other in a safe, cheap way. What else do they have? They have SDK modules, so they can have literally plug and play modules where the coding isn't as complex. They're able to plug and play governance. They're able to plug and play their tokenomics. They've made this setup for new entrants very easy, safe, and secure. Not only this though, Atom has $2.7 billion in its market cap, right? So if a new chain comes on the Cosmos and is part of the Cosmos Hub, they are going to be able to rent security from Atom. So they don't have to look for validators. They don't have to have all this other complexity when it comes to validators having their tokens. And they don't have to worry about somebody putting in a few $1 million and then getting 51% of the votes and essentially destroying the chain. Atom can rent their security, some of this market cap valuation, some of this market cap value to these chains. These chains pay rent in the form of their own tokens, and the people that are staking their Atom can also get rewards from these different tokens. I think it's absolutely brilliant. This didn't go through, of course, in the vote because there was so much going through with the new white paper, but this is what we look for. But this is what we expect in terms of tech advancements down the line. The base layer of security, stability, and speed is already there. Now it's about secondary advancements and creating value for the ecosystem. Not only this, if we look at validators, for example, on the Juno ecosystem, which we at Tech Crypto are part of, so thanks for that, we can see that the validators are now 150, and there's continuous votes in the system to increase the number of validators over time. The idea is the more validators that exist, the less the power of each individual vote, and therefore when there is a vote, it's a more fair and equitable system. This certainly still needs a bit of work, however, as the top 10 validators have 36% of the shares. And if the individual that's staked to that validator doesn't vote, that validator's vote, whatever they choose, goes through. So it's something to pay attention to. Try and find a validator that's aligned with your own values. The aim, in general, is to increase decentralization across the board. Also, what we're looking at is mesh security moving forward, which is kind of an extension of interchain security, where different platforms might actually invest in each other to maintain security. But again, I hope that's not at the cost of centralization. People do predict that 2023 will be a turning point for the Cosmos. I'm personally here because I believe in the tech. I think it's brilliant. And currently, I can't see anything that can outcompete it. There are new stablecoins from the likes of Kajira and Comdex. I really think the next wave in the Cosmos is going to be DeFi related, decentralized finance. At the moment, the things that are being developed are being able to buy liquidations when people's underlying asset loses its value. Using IBC, you're going to be able to borrow and lend from different protocols at different times. More bridges are being connected. We have EVMOS, the Ethereum emulator, where people are going to be able to port their apps over to the Cosmos under that branch. So essentially they could operate in Ethereum-like environment, but the cost of sending is way cheaper and faster. What's the point in patching an elephant where you can port into a really fast, brilliantly built, decentralized protocol? We see the up-and-coming Mars protocol, where instead of putting down $100 to borrow 80, you might be able to borrow now without putting down anything. A protocol where they're trying to actually emulate banks. These are the next fundamental steps in DeFi, paving the way for decentralized finance. It could be brilliant, or it could crash. But I love that these steps are being taken in DeFi on the Cosmos. Also, I see privacy going a longer way on the Cosmos as well. Secret has had a lot of funding this year, 800 million at the start of the year, and they're not stopping with their development. For example, recently they've built the Shade Bridge, where your assets can be converted into privacy-preserving equivalents. So for me at least, this next coming year, it's important to see through the smoke in crypto and find out what tech is actually being developed. And in the Cosmos, I see people with their heads down developing the tech. Now, I must admit, at the top, it's been very tumultuous watching people argue with each other and give personal attacks. Very annoying, in fact. I'm looking for professionalism. And it shakes me when I see people at the top arguing in certain ways. It rings a lack of stability. But when I go back to the underlying tech and knowing that each independent platform is working for a better future on the cosmos, it gives me a sense of security. And while I personally think we're looking at a global recession, at least until this war is over and the rebuilding starts, I'm very positive in the long run about this technology and the growth and the plans for the future of it. All right, that's it from me, James at Cryptoconsh. If you have any comments or anything to say, let me know down below. I'll be sure to read through it. Hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you again.